The world is facing urgent, monumental issues, and you may be considering a career change where you can make a global impact, even if you don't know where to begin. In the heart of Washington, D.C., gain world-renowned expert knowledge and a global network as you pursue a master's degree and turn your new passion into practice. Thousands of the world's leaders found their purpose at the George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. Are you next?
Working hard is worth it if you're seeing results. And when it comes to working out, the same thing is true. You want the maximum benefit in the time you have. And that's exactly what Tonal is built for. And with their latest iteration, Tonal 2, you can ensure your workout is more tailored and effective than ever. Tonal's at-home strength training system uses adaptive weight to learn from your movement and set the optimal weight for every move, adjusting in 1-pound increments up to 250 pounds, challenging even the most advanced users to push their limits. You can also experience a full body burn with the new Aero HIIT workouts, the perfect blend of heart-pumping cardio and strength. Plus, the new built-in Smart View leverages a high-resolution camera that lets you see yourself during your workout, analyzes your movement, and provides real-time coaching, just like a personal trainer. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code 200TONAL. That's Tonal.com and use promo code 200TONAL for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com. Promo code 200TONAL for $200 off.
Did you spray paint the tail of a cat to pass him off as Mr. Jinx?
Yes.
And did you do that because you desperately were seeking my approval?
Yes.
Because you love my daughter Pam?
Yes.
Do you want to marry her?
I did. Till I met you.
Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin Lundberg, and I'm here with my right hand, Vanessa Mandel. Hello.
Hi, Daniela.
Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited about this episode that we have with Jane Rosenthal.
Oh, living legend. This woman.
Living legend.
We've been trying to schedule this for a bit. We are so adoring of her and her career.
Yes.
So we finally sat down to do an episode about Meet the Parents, which is like truly, guys, go rewatch it. It just holds up. It's one of the all-time great comedies. I mean, truly, some of those lines we still quote in my household. It's fantastic.
I watched it last night and I wanted to watch it as a refresher and I was just like, I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't turn it off. I was cackling. Like the scene at the dinner table.
Oh my God. Do cats have nipples? Can you? Yeah. It's so good. So good.
So good. It's so good.
Can you milk a cat, Greg? So excited to get underway on this movie. And so many talented people were involved. Loved hearing about Jay Roach's process and bringing John Hamburg into the mix, who he went on to do all the Meet the Parents, and then Along Came Polly, and so many great movies of his own. And so just loved hearing about this. So let's get underway.
Let's do it.
Jane Rosenthal.
Hi.
It is so exciting to meet you. It's the first time we're meeting in person.
It is in person, on Zoom in person. We have to really meet in person.
Loyal listeners, I'm looking at her fabulous backdrop of books and awards and all sorts of cool things.
Oh, thanks. And I don't think there's any Meet the Parents things here, though.
Well, that's a good segue because today we're going to do a deep dive into Meet the Parents. And so I sort of want to hear about how you found it and how you convinced Bob to do it, and take me through your first memory of it, and I'll just pepper you with questions.
So I was doing a movie at Universal called Rocky and Bullwinkle, which I was very excited about what we could do in creating 2.5D and, the animation style that we were trying to do. That movie ended up having like bad buzz about it before we shot a single frame, which kind of it was kind of nuts that it would have this like bad buzz. The script was written by Kenneth Lonergan.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. And he's a pretty good writer. Anyway, it was okay. So I'm in the middle of doing that. I also just had a baby Isabella, who is now 26, and we were doing Rocky and Bowling Ball. And Kevin Misher, who was a vice president at Universal at the time, calls me up and said, I have a great idea. What happens if you're going home to meet your fiance's parents, or it's your girlfriend's parents, and you open the door and it's Robert De Niro? And I did just that. You cracked up. I mean, it's like, okay, because you take all those feelings about Bob's other characters and you laugh. So I said, that's great. He said, I had this script. It was developed for Jim Carrey. Amblin has it. It was written really as a slapstick comedy. He said, but read it. So I said, great, I'll read it. And it was a Jim Hertzfeld script. So there were lots of, Jim writes that zany, crazy comedy. So I read the script, and the script, if you're going to put Bob in it, was going to need some more work. It's different than in terms of the kind of character he would play versus,
because it was sort of written with Jim Carrey in mind.
Yeah, and it's just a different physical nature. Jim is a wonderful actor. And so I told him about it. He said, great. And I believe also at the time, Jay Roach was attached to it, or was interested in it. And I was like, the Austin Power guy? And he goes, yeah. And, it was, and especially because for like Jim Carrey with Austin, you could see that happening. You could see that.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I had met Jay and thought he was a really great guy. Has become like one of my, dear friends for so many years.
I've just heard he's like the loveliest person.
Oh, the best. And I said to Bob, let's meet. So he said, okay. So we meet at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
And Jane, is Bob open to this? Like, is he like, yeah,
he was open. He was open to it, but he didn't have time to read the script. So we were having a meeting, and I just remember Jay and Kevin Misher, and I can't remember who else was in the room. So we all met, but Bob hadn't read the script, but he knew the concept. And, we talked about it. We talked about it with Jay, and he said, great, this sounds good. Let's do it.
Bob just said that?
Or something to that.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So Jay's like, well, they all seem nice enough. Let's do it. And Jay's like, but he hasn't read the script. I'm like, well, the script needs work anyway. It needs work. He likes the concept. So let's do it.
Was that unusual in your partnership with him? Would he react in that way from time to time when like he really liked something? Would he just lean in like that? Or did that happen a lot?
Look, when you're partnered with somebody for 34 years, there's a lot of times that it does, and there's a lot of times that it doesn't. So it's like, I can certainly remember plenty of times it didn't. And, luckily this was a good one. So we went off, and Amblin was involved, and it was Walter Parks and Laurie, and everyone's really excited. We're gonna develop it, and they do another draft, and then we finished Rocky and Bullwinkle. We come back, Bob and I come back to New York. The new draft comes in, and we have a reading here in the screening room. Ben was here.
So Ben was attached by that point?
Yes, I can't remember exactly when whether he was attached when Kevin first mentioned it. I mean, he's always been attached in my head, so I don't know, very specifically, but he was definitely part of it from the beginning, obviously. So we do this reading, and, everybody is laughing. And then we come up to Bob's office, and studio's very excited. Kevin Misher, I can't remember if Holly Barrio was there, and Jay and Ben, and we're sitting in Bob's office, and Bob looks at me and says, "Can I see you a minute, please?"
Oh no. Oh no.
Like, okay, now in Bob's office, and then in Bob's office, there's his bathroom. So we go into the bathroom, which is kind of at this point more of a side office than a bathroom. So we go in, and he looks at me, he's like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, it needs a rewrite. I mean, it needs, because it was still more of that big comedy, like big, guys in trees.
Yes.
Instead of a guy on a roof, but it might have had that." And
Okay.
so we go back into the room and we say, yes, he's still interested. I mean, Bob articulately spoke, probably more articulately than I am recalling it, and just said, "This is great, but for him, it needs some more, it needs to be based more in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to, have that center that Jack has become so beloved for over the years. And that's what Bob can bring to it." So we all oh my God, who are we going to get to work with? Who are we going to get to work with Jim? And Ben had his friend John Hamburg, who had done a short called Safe Man.
Yes.
And we watched that, and we sent it to, Ben sent it to John, and John proceeds to write, his draft of it. Jay is always very much involved in the writing, so they worked on it. At some point, Bob thought he should see something that Jay had done. And Jay had just finished his movie about ice hockey. So we watched Mystery Alaska. That doesn't have as much to do with this kind of movie either. Russell Crowe, Burt Reynolds, all that, and then Mary McCormick. So we watched that. He watched some Austin Powers, and he was like, "Okay, well, let's keep going." Yeah. Then Hamburg wrote, we had another reading sometime, continued to do more work on the script. Hamburg nailed that. Then we had other things that we needed to do some work on, and David O. Russell did some work in the middle of it.
You're kidding.
And at one point, Payne and Taylor came on and did some work at the end of that, more of the airport scene.
No.
And then Jim came back and did another kind of comedy pass through it. So you had the creme de la creme.
I mean, truly
working out, amazing.
Murderer's Row of the greatest writers. Amazing.
Absolutely. And then we decided to make it. Universal, we launched.
Okay, so that was the road, and it felt like you just were sort of keeping things on track and keeping Bob kind of engaged. And all in all, how long did that take?
It was fast. It was fast. It wasn't, if it was a year, it was a year, but it wasn't. It moved very quickly. And I have to say, at some point, Rocky and Bullwinkle came out, and there I read in the Wall Street Journal, "How did this doozy get made?"
Oh no, Jay.
And I'm like, okay. It did so bad that I kept it, back in the days before you had these phones, you're sitting there, I'm waiting to get the grosses. I'm waiting to get the fact. I see the facts, but nobody has called me.
No.
Ron Meyer, the ultimate gentleman, calls all the time. Didn't call. Right. And I'm checking my phone. I'm constantly, even my mother didn't call me.
No.
I was like, I literally was picking up the phone, and I was like, I was out in the Hamptons, and I was positive that, it was the telephone. Nobody had called to say, condolences, something, I didn't hear anything.
Oh my God.
Brian Lord didn't call me. It was like, I was so upset. Finally, Ron called me on a Sunday and said, well, I'm sorry. But it was like, literally, it was like dead on arrival. So I was really happy that I got to jump right into Meet the Parents.
Greg's in medicine too, Larry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What field?
Nursing.
That's good. No, really. What field?
Nursing.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
The world is facing urgent, monumental issues, and you may be considering a career change where you can make a global impact, even if you don't know where to begin. In the heart of Washington, D.C., gain world-renowned expert knowledge and a global network as you pursue a master's degree and turn your new passion into practice. Thousands of the world's leaders found their purpose at the George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. Are you next?
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
Oh, yeah, you can milk anything with nipples.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
In that moment where you were going in to meet the parents, was your confidence a little bit frayed in that moment?
I guess I'd never look at things like that because whatever it is, you're going to put your best work into it. And sometimes movies don't get discovered till much later. But it was without question, putting your best foot forward. I put my best foot forward with Rocky and Bullwinkle. And you do learn more from, the things that aren't a success than you learn from your successes. And that's, I think, always an important lesson for us. And, I was just really excited to work with Ben.
So talk to me about the casting and a little bit of the production and just talk me through Ben, Owen, Bob. Like it was a real triumvirate of just comedy genius, which I didn't even know existed until that movie. Like those three together were just kind of brilliant.
Well, it was the magic that they created together. It was, and again, it was that nervous energy that Bob can bring to a set. And I mean that in the most, he's just professional. And it was, people were really excited about working with him. So in a certain way, he's Jack, he's Jack, and everybody brought their best game. And, but that's what that team does no matter what. When you look at that group of people, they're just all, extraordinary and consummate professionals. And so, we cast the movie pretty quickly, and Terry Polo came in, and Nicole and Phyllis George was also had a small part in that, who I had known from the beginning of my career when I was an intern production assistant on the NFL Today show. I was doing live television. So we started shooting and we shot in Oyster Bay.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Home of Jack and Dina Burns. And then we also shot out at one of the armories in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
And it was just, we had fun. I mean, it was just, the movie's fun. And of course, Bob, you have the lie detector scene. So Bob wants to make that as real as it can be.
Oh, tell me.
And we had been working on what became The Good Shepherd with this wonderful gentleman who's former CIA officer, Milt Bearden. And Bob was asking Milt to explain what would happen in a real lie detector and go through the real lie detector. So that became a very, very real situation.
Yeah, yeah.
The dinner table scene was, fun to keep doing,
Was there sticking to script, or was there like a little improvisation on Jay's set? Like, what was the vibe?
Jay always gave everybody room to do stuff that they wanted to, but when you're doing a big dinner table scene like that, you really need to stay on script as much as possible, but to also have some fun with it. So Jay and Ben and Bob, they're just all like great at, doing the take that's going to work, that's going to cut together the way it was intended and have some fun. So one of my big contributions to this movie was while they were at the dinner table and they asked Ben to say a prayer. Mm-hmm. And he's making it up and saying, "Dear Lord," dear whatever. And, I suggested to Jay that it's Godspell. So they did. So that was actually used. That's my big contribution.
Oh my God, that's so good.
That was it. That was it.
I love to hear, like, you've worked with so many filmmakers. Every filmmaker has their sort of bag of tricks, right? Like the way that they run their set, or the way that they allow things to flow or happen or dictate the way things happen. What was your observation about Jay, who, I've heard multiple times on this pod, is just like the most delightful, like Californian, like just positive vibes and not too stressed?
Oh, he can get stressed, but Jay just keeps it moving. He's uplifting. He's fun. It's like you want to be around Jay. Also, our kids are the exact same ages, and it was just, and Susanna Hoff, his wife, is wonderful. Right. They were here. They were living here with the kids while we were shooting that first one. And, it really kind of became a real family affair. And what you realized is as Jay's work has continued and he has done, some real serious work, he had that side to him. So it wasn't just the Austin Powers of it all. And, and that was something that we, grew to know as we were developing it together. And again, certainly with Ben there, it was just nice. I don't quite remember anything about it that felt crazy, I mean, Jinxie the cat was around.
Jane, I think Bob has this reputation of being a like very serious, maybe not method, but just like one of our finest, most serious actors. Do you find that on a comedy set that intensity kind of lightens a bit, or what is the approach? What is your observation of him versus Stiller, who I've also heard is a very like serious worker?
Look, they're all professionals who get paid a good sum of money to show up and do their work. And that's, it's not like, because it's a comedy, it's not that you're there to play. It's also the one thing that Jay does is give his actors that safety net to feel that they can go out as far as they need to go. And in some cases, I think for comedy, for the actors need to feel that safety, that they can make themselves look ridiculous and foolish and go do ridiculous things, but they know that somebody's got their, not just their back, but their front, like has got their arms around them 100%. And I think that's clearly what Jay does to allow his actors to go as far as they need to go. In terms of Bob and comedies, I think when you look at even something, whether you go back and look at King of Comedy go back and look at Taxi Driver. I mean, all those pictures made way before I knew him. He's funny in them. You know, Bob's got a really great sense of humor, and, you know, he's not always a laugh a minute, but yeah. It's also when Bob and I started working together, he clearly wanted to direct, and A Bronx Tale, talk about a movie that was received okay by critics, but nobody went to see that movie when it came out.
I love that movie.
It's been interesting. Like I remember, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something, I said to Bob, I can't believe how many people have actually seen A Bronx Tale, and they quote the movie, and they love this movie. And it's really been the afterlife of the movie versus when it came out that you realize how many, you know, just the love people have for that film. But even that, his first film, has such comedy in it and
totally
such warmth. And, you know, that's kind of Bob.
You know, I look at Meet the Parents, and it's one of the most successful comic franchises. And you look at other creators and filmmakers and actors who are able to do that. Apatow does that, you know. And I'm so curious about how that magic was created initially, right? Like I'm sure you guys were like, yeah, let's just keep going down this path, but I'm sure you couldn't have imagined the success you were going to have.
No, not at all.
And so I guess I go back to this question of like, what was it in the making of this initial thing that was so special?
I think everyone, first of all, it had a really good script, and it kept getting better and better. And then they made it their own, because you can have all these writers, but you have to make it their own. And having John there for the length of it, and even having Jim Hertzfeld around too, was, you know, they kept bringing pieces to it. It's also, the movie is a universal theme and something that everybody can relate to, and everybody brought their piece of that, their memories to it. And, it was just one of those like lightning in a bottle, that it all worked together, and everyone had enormous respect for the other one, and everybody needs a good laugh.
Did you feel like you were showing up and everyone was like trying to one up each other and do their very best work and make each other laugh? Or was it just like, it just so happened that Jay created this environment where everyone was just comfortable to like explore? And
Robert De Niro, it's just like when Kevin Misher said to me, and you open the door and it's Robert De Niro as your potential father-in-law. To a certain extent, Bob's gravitas of who he is, and certainly he's been working for so many years, that kind of brought everybody up, and everybody wanted to do their best, but Bob always does his best too. So, and he had fun, you know, and he just enjoyed himself.
Yes.
Also, we were shooting at home. So the fact that we were in New York, and Ben and Bob, John Hamburg, myself, like we're all New Yorkers. So it was nice to be at home and doing what we love the most.
I love hearing that so much. I interviewed Bruce Cohen about Silver Linings Playbook, by the way, speaking of David O. Russell. And, you know, Bruce was very much like, that was an unusual set. Mm-hmm. David O. Russell is an unusual director. But if you are a filmmaker that can communicate like this exciting thing, this potential of this exciting thing, it can actually be like a magical wonderland. And according to Bruce, you know, Bob also set the tone for that. You know, like he was like, yeah, I'm down. David's going to throw me a line and I'm going to like go with it, you know?
Bob says that working with David, and he loves working with David, is full contact sport.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text. The long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever.
The world is facing urgent, monumental issues, and you may be considering a career change where you can make a global impact, even if you don't know where to begin. In the heart of Washington, D.C., gain world-renowned expert knowledge and a global network as you pursue a master's degree and turn your new passion into practice. Thousands of the world's leaders found their purpose at the George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. Are you next?
Wait. So your name's Gay Falker.
So the shoot went relatively smoothly. Everyone was doing their best work. It was like a real like forum for imagination and comedy. I mean, some of those scenes, I'm just curious if you remember, like, you know, the scene where Owen Wilson is talking about the huppah. And were you present and like there on the day? And were those scenes as funny on the day as they were in the cut? You know, sometimes you don't know, you know, like you're like, is this brilliant? Is this genius?
Owen's rhythm is so much different than everybody else's. And just the way he, you know, articulates it so differently is funny, you know, just, and so that scene was really funny. The day of when they actually got married, or actually the day that the sewer, that wasn't as much fun just because of the mud. You know, it was.
It really paid off, though.
You know, it was all work. You know, it's work to make people laugh. The fun, actually, what was interesting for me was watching Jay in the cutting room too, and how Jay would break down like the laugh.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Constantly screening for friends and family over and over again, and to like break down whether it's a head bobber, a knee slapper, and an elbow, you know, and can you get all three and get this rolling laughter to happen? And then can you get all three? So it's so much of a rolling laughter that they can't hear it. You have to go, what'd they say? Who? What'd they say? Oh, you got to go back and see it again. So that was just the anatomy of a laugh. That was kind of great. I mean, that's what I miss now. There aren't so many comedies in theater. You've got them. It's so different to sit and watch a comedy at home. You don't get that sense of that real belly laughs that you start laughing because somebody else has started to laugh. And it's just missed so much.
I couldn't agree more, Jane. I miss those comedies that people went out in droves to see. And now for whatever reason, studios don't believe it'll happen, or maybe it won't happen. But I miss those days so much, so much. Did you feel like that anatomy of a laugh? Because I've never heard it broken down that way. Was that unique to Jay? Had you ever seen a filmmaker sort of try to break down a scene that way?
I had never seen that before, Jay. You know, you'd hear people talk about it philosophically, but to see him actually do that and know that stuff was in the cut and know like just how he worked with John Cole and just how they just kept, the material had to be there, but just how you kept just kept working and working and working on it. And it was just, Jay's an extremely talented, really special human being.
It's so interesting to see that comedy cutting can be very scientific, if you're like really working for those laughs and those elbows and the, chuckles. So I love hearing that.
Well, you also read stuff about Lucille Ball and working on I Love Lucy and the kind of stuff that she would do. I mean, that's like, again, different time, different style, but it's hard work to do. It's hard work to do a comedy and hope that somebody's still going to be laughing years later. I think what's special about the Meet the Parents franchise is that all those characters are relatable. And again, it's a universal theme.
I always love to hear about the opening weekend because we started with the Rocky and Bullwinkle sadness, but talk to me about the Meet the Parents. I can't actually remember if it was like an automatic just number one hit or if it was something that sort of grew in word of mouth, but it made 330 million worldwide. Pretty impressive, Jane.
I just remember it was on track to do really well. I mean, because it was Christmas vacation, and we were away, and it was like on track, and we were all calling each other. Oh, it's on track. Oh, good. Like, oh, somebody's called me. I'm so happy.
No silence this time around.
No, exactly. No silence. Oh, that's good. They want to talk to me. Okay. So that was, it was just nice.
So you were away. You weren't like driving around to the like various theaters, like checking out if there were lines or anything. You were like safely away.
No, I'm pretty sure I was for that. Now I'm trying to remember. Maybe that was Fockers that I was away for.
I think you because this opened October 6th, 2000. So.
You're right.
Yeah.
So it was Fockers that I was away for.
Okay.
So this one I did drive. Thank you for reminding me. This one I did go around with John Hamburg because I remember we were at the AMC Lincoln Square and we were in the basement theater, which still had kind of a subway sound to it, and it wasn't, and the print was, and the film was a little murky, and we're like, wait a second, is it the right print? I mean, it was
stress.
Yeah.
Was the audience packed? Like, were there plenty of people there?
Yeah, people were there. It was like, it was nice. People were there. It's nice to see people line up. It like feels like such, we're talking about this, and it just feels like it was such another world. It was such another time of movies and faxes.
Yes, I know, but I love hearing it. I'm obsessed with this time because if there was just care taken. You couldn't release 20 movies in 1 week. That just didn't happen. Also, there was time given to give your movie a theatrical rollout. Like, people would go home and talk about it, and then more people would come week 2 and week 3, and like you could really have like a life in the theaters that was so special.
Yes, when you started talking about your mark, I mean, with this, because it lasted so long in the theaters that we actually had to think of what we were going to talk about for the next wave of marketing,
right?
And how you were going to position it. And, those aren't conversations that, at least I haven't had those conversations since.
Like, I'm sure it lasted through the holidays. And so I'm sure you were trying to figure out, like, how do we incorporate, the holidays into this and that kind of thing.
The Judeo-Christian ethic.
Yeah, that's right.
Like.
So, Jane, did you know immediately that they were going to want to do another one? Like, was it pretty quickly that people were like, let's go again?
It was kind of on the last day of the set that we said we should write a sequel, when he said Bob's and Blythe are in bed, and he was like, now we have to meet her parents, and
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh my God, her name is going to be Pamela Martha Fokker." So now we have to meet the Fokkers, a natural, and we started developing that script pretty quickly.
And how quickly did you envision Dustin Hoffman and Barbara Streisand?
You know, you had to have somebody that was going to be equally as like what Jack brought to it, what Bob brought to it, who were Ben's formidable parents going to be. And it was pretty quick that it was Dustin and Barbara.
How did you get away with, like, I remember that being talked about in the press, that they'll never get away with that title, Meet the Fokkers. Was it an MPA discussion at all? Was it fine? I
don't remember it being an MPA discussion because we got away. So I don't remember I don't remember any detailed conversation about, but Fokker is actually a German word. So
there you go.
Yes. I had a neighbor that's name was Fokker who wasn't very nice to me. And I, at least to my doorman, mispronounced his name as Fokker. I hope he's listening to your podcast.
I bet he is. That he follows you. Had De Niro and Hoffman ever shared the screen before this?
Yeah. We did Wag the Dog together, and they were also in they were also in Sleepers. Sleepers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
The Barry Levinson's movie. Yeah. Together. And, we've been talking about doing something with Dustin for years. And we had gotten together with Dustin and Maurice Siskel and would talk about stuff and, talk about pinch me moments, like to be there with Bob and Dustin. But the pinch me moment I so remember so vividly is doing the hair and makeup tests for Meet the Fokkers on the Universal lot and looking at the monitors with Ben. And we're like, there's Robert De Niro, Barbara Streisand, and Dustin Hoffman. And like, oh my God, like what? It's just like, what, it was that wow it's those wow moments that you're like, oh my God, this is what I do for a living. Pinch me, and plus I had grown up like, loved Funny Girl and could sing, still can do every song from that movie.
So tell me about this next installment.
Oh, it's the next installment.
Are you guys close? Or is there a script?
Rumor has it there's a script. Yeah. Rumor has it there's a script. But we'll see. It's like, herding cats and trying to I had thought for a while. And when we were doing our second installment, our second wave of Meet the Fokkers marketing, this was a poster. I just love this. This was something, it never went, but there was a while.
Jade, it's so good.
Isn't this good? Okay, so I at one point wanted to do an animated movie of Jinxie and
you are a genius.
I'm not a genius. I just happen to work with great people. But
Jane, that is such a good poster. That one sheet. I can't believe it didn't go.
No, it didn't go.
But you have it. You have it right at the ready. I love that.
It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. What else is here?
Jane, I love seeing your bookcases. I interviewed Nancy Myers a couple weeks ago, and she has like a similar, amazing backdrop of just historical artifacts that I just want to dive into. Well, Jane Rosenthal, That was just like such a delightful walk down memory lane. Will you do this again with me sometime?
Yeah, absolutely. We can walk my bookcase.
Yeah, we'll do just like,
Here.
what's that?
Show about that.
Who's that? You and Leo. I mean, you've really done it all, babe. Wow.
Marvin's room before he did Titanic.
Oh my God.
Before he did Titanic.
Oh my God. Marvin's room. That's right. I saw that in the theaters.
I had to go through, I was looking through my daughter, Juliana, who,
you have 2 daughters?
I have 2 daughters. Juliana just turned 30, and I have pictures of her that, for whatever reason, we couldn't find from Marvin's room, where Leo was holding her.
Come on.
So she was 6 months old, and that's all she wants is for me to find.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. To think she's too old for him to date now.
Exactly what she said. But we love Leo.
All right, Jane. So great to talk to you. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Thanks for doing this. This was amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
Hair thinning can happen for so many reasons. Whether it's stress or hormones or anything, at Nutrafol we've learned that real change starts below the surface. Our hair growth supplements take a whole body approach and target the key root causes of hair thinning, so you can see visibly thicker, stronger hair in 3 to 6 months.
Hair growth starts from the inside at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com.
Oh, dear God, thank you. You are such a good God.
You know what I noticed, Vanessa, about Jane Rosenthal, which I loved?
Tell me.
Is she is, first of all, a cool, calm, brilliant producer, obviously. But she's got a really sly, dry sense of humor. And it kind of kept coming out in the interview. And I was like, this woman is like sharp as a tack, but she's so funny. And it's obvious to me that she is probably the reason that De Niro agreed to do Meet the Parents and all these comedies. Like, it clearly, she has a love of it. She has a respect for comedy. She understands how important it is to our culture. And so she probably wouldn't say this about herself, but it's clear to me that she is the reason that this movie happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it's impressive.
I mean, now we think of Robert De Niro as having done a lot of comedies, but up until that point, he had been doing mobster movies, crime films, serious dramas. He was not known as a comedian.
100%. And I've just read that, you know, she obviously is so brilliant and deeply respected, but he respects her and he trusts her. And she obviously, like, they've been partners for years and years and years, and they have one of the most successful production companies in Hollywood and one of the longest standing, you know, partnerships. So it's impressive. Next time I feel like I'm just going to like do a deep dive into how you make that work over so many years.
They started the Tribeca Film Festival, which is so crazy to think about because they're not just film producers. It's a very different skill set.
No, they're like so entrepreneurial. It's so impressive. I mean, you know, again, it's like we do these interviews and we're meant to stay on track for the one movie, but like when these people have these careers that like encompass so many things, it's hard not to like get off track and just ask about like holistically, like how they come up with like all the things that they do and how they stay on track. So
yes.
Anyways, love that Jane Rosenthal. That was just so delightful. And I'm so excited for all our upcoming episodes. We've got a lot of like great episodes coming up, and the Oscars are coming up. We're going to do an Oscars episode that we do every year with Riva. That'll be so fun.
Yeah, it was a good year for movies, surprisingly. So I think we have a lot of really good stuff under wraps.
I loved so many movies. I just saw The Brutalist guys. Going to try to bring the DP of that on. So much to talk about. So much to dive into. Anyways, love you guys so much. And Vanessa, you do the wrap up.
All right, guys. Follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Gold Pod. We have some great clips. Go on our website to get our merch, staygoldfeatures.com. There's a little merch tab there. We have sweatshirts and t-shirts. We haven't talked about them enough, you know the drill. We love our sweatshirts.
We love them.
And like and subscribe the podcast. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to the pod and share with family.
Can you believe how many views our Joey Pants reel got?
It's crazy.
Like hundreds of thousands, guys. I mean, this is not normal for us. It was like a real viral moment for us.
We got 500,000 views on this thing, and people are commenting. I feel like we're like a popular meme page. I think people don't realize that we're also a podcast.
That's so true. So true. I'll take it where I can get it, though.
Yeah.
Anyways,
take all
guys,
the attention.
We love you, and stay gold.
Stay gold.